Welcome back to Doodle Gaming, guys. God, I hate this chair. I'm sorry. It's all squeaky and shit. I need to get one. I need to get a new one,
It doesn't matter if it's squeaky. Welcome back. Welcome back.
So today we're going to talk about an interesting little thing that's going on in the industry due to the last, Windows event? Press event?
The Windows 10 press event.
Go for it.
The head of Xbox, Phil Spencer, was there. And he basically laid out what he sees the future of the Xbox brand being. And in general, consoles in general. So this is pretty much guaranteed the direction they're going to take Xbox into. A lot of people have been complaining, especially about Quantum Break coming to PC. We did do a video on that. People have been complaining that all the exclusives for Xbox are coming to PC, and Phil Spencer literally addressed everybody, all their complaints, and he just laid out the vision for Xbox in the foreseeable future. So, Jose, have you seen any of this? Do you know what I'm talking about, sir?
Yes, obviously. Phil Spencer is talking about an upgradable console.
Well, that's part of it.
The upgradable console and the Universal Windows... What was he calling it?
Universal Windows...
something. He abbreviated it and everything.
The Universal Windows Platform.
There you go.
Universal Windows Platform.
Mm-hmm.
So basically what they're saying is, let's say you have an Xbox. Well, you can get the games on there. Let's say you have a PC, you can get them on there, a tablet, so on and so forth.
To be more descriptive, it's just like the idea of, especially what's coming up with Killer Instinct. Right now, I own Killer Instinct, and as soon as Killer Instinct Season 3 launches for Windows 10, like the actual Windows Game Store, it's going to be there waiting for me. All my saved progress will be there waiting for me. Right. So it's just like the idea of when you buy a game on one of these systems, like Xbox, or if you're on PC, or if you're on your phone or something, that it's going to be compatible across all of them. It's going to be like, this is the end all be all. You don't have to buy the portable version of a game. You don't have to buy a PC version of a game. It's basically when you buy it on one system, it's going to apply to all the rest.
Right, and the reason they're doing this, and he went into detail, the way he put it was, when when a console generation starts, you tend to, let's say, from Xbox 360 to Xbox One. Now, obviously, this doesn't apply to everybody, but a vast majority of people... Maturity. A vast majority of people, they buy their platform, and they get the new Xbox One, they box up the old Xbox and put it away in a closet, or trade it in, or maybe trade in those games because, at the beginning of this generation it wasn't backwards compatible. And it makes a lot of sense because he's saying that he wants your games to always stay with you from now on forever. So, 14 years from now on whatever I'm gaming on, Halo 5, if I so wish to, will still be there. I won't have to unplug anything. It'll just... He called it forwards and backwards compatibility. So that when you buy that game, you'll
still have it, when Xbox 5 comes out.
Right, basically. And you might be able to run it better. So let's get into that. This is what the whole... this is where all the controversy comes in. He said that the way he sees consoles in the future, with technology moving forward, he doesn't see it being viable anymore to make a console and then sitting with that console for 5, 7, 8 years and then, waiting for that big graphical leap. He sees it as you buy Xbox 2. For the sake of argument, we're calling it Xbox 2. You buy Xbox 2. Maybe 2 years later, Xbox 2 version 2 comes out.
Oh, God.
And maybe 2 years later, Xbox 2. But your game will always run on that platform. So it's not like when version 2 comes out, people who have version 1 get shafted and no longer can play Like, games aren't going to come out for version 2 that only work on version 2. That's not going to happen until you get, 5-6 years down the road, kind of like a PC. I mean, I don't know.
No,
Jose, you can start.
Because already, I'm sure like some of our listeners might be confused, some of them, and that's the whole point of why this, I don't think. And again, like, this isn't like what is right and what is wrong. The future is coming and we don't know what really to expect. I mean, upgradable things make sense, but Microsoft basically already has a platform, already has a way of making this upgradable system where all your games work from day one to like 20 years on the road, and it's called a PC.
You're right, but
hold on. And one of the reasons why console right now is still alive and is still thriving, like, PS4 and Xbox are doing amazingly well compared to, generations before. They're still alive. They're still, flying off shows. They're still making tons of money. It's not like slowly dying or anything. This thing is still alive. So there's obviously like a fine line between like console gamers and like PC players. People who want a PC, who want the ultimate rig, who want to play 4K gaming, whatever, who want to deal with all those little things, they could do that. But then there's the console gamers, who don't want to deal with, having to update drivers, having to, get the new graphics card, update, whatever, install these new things, worry about power supplies and all that. And I could see like consoles like evolving, but it's just like, you can't, like, talking about 2.1, like the Xbox 2.3, it's just like, now we're going into console type, PC type territory.
But and if it's a cheaper alternative to PC, and it's still viable.
Well, that's the thing. Like, here's the thing. And now we're talking about like viability. Okay, so
wait, hold on. How much do you spend on like a PC to run? Let's just get into this.
Time out. So like this. So now this is the big question of like, how will we make this work? What do you think? Okay, so like, we're going to talk about what it would mean, like, for us in terms of money. How much would we have to pay for it? How will we make this as cheap? And let's come up with like a nightmare scenario or how expensive it could be.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Theoretically, if it works, theoretically, now you got to remember, we're talking about the future here, and there's no fate but what we make for ourselves. All right.
Dun 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 dun. But wait. One thing is that one of the reasons we're talking about like an upgradable system is because consoles, when you buy a console, you expect it at least to live for 5 years. But the thing is, like, technology, especially now, is moving so fast that a console sitting around for 5 years is gonna, like, obviously pale in comparison to what's gonna be available at that time. It's like you're slowing things down basically with a console.
I mean, let's put it this way. Off of what Jose's saying, let's put it this way. Late next year, early 2018, cell phones. I'm going with time. But whatever, so sometime late next year, early 2018, cell phones are going to be more powerful.
Projected,
than Xbox One and PS4. So when you're sitting there and you're playing, let's look at the Order 1886. I think the game is 800p, 30 frames per second. Theoretically, a cell phone will be able to run that game 1080p, 30 frames to
60, whatever.
Cell phone. Yeah. These consoles, like, we're literally being held back. Literally. I know Dying Light, the developers of Dying Light, they were like, yes, we do have an idea for a sequel, but we have to wait because the consoles just aren't powerful enough to make it happen. And they struggled enough, as with many other devs this generation, to get their game to work and run. 90% of games, like, they mess up. 90% of games have screen tearing nowadays. There's
lots of issues with,
slow down and
the thing is like what's the thing that makes it truly evident is, if you really think about it, is that when these systems first came out, PlayStation 4, Xbox, is that you would think that because they're supposed to be big, powerful systems, they're supposed to be the next generation, that these things are supposed to be just pouring out 1080p, 60 frames per second, no problem. I mean, we're literally on the cusp. Like, right now, we were at the store looking at 4K movies, and these consoles still can't...
4K Blu-rays! Yeah. 4K Blu-rays are out now.
And these systems still can't, like, continually, manage without problem 1080p, 60 frames per second. That's, like, how evident it is that these consoles are outdated. They obviously need some more horsepower. But how do we create a system? How do we make something like, not only like a console system, but a way to make these things affordable and rejuvenate these technologies early enough so that way, we can all play games at their prime, at their best. Because obviously a lot of these games like Halo, I'm guessing one of the reasons why, like Halo 5, you aren't able to play, local multiplayer is because maybe it couldn't handle so many players, on one system.
It couldn't handle two different visuals of the same screen.
Yeah, of the same screen.
And that's literally the anemic hardware we're dealing with on both platforms. That's
literally like a crutch.
There's videos out there that'll show you. I am a huge, huge, huge fan of Halo, so I am not knocking them at all. What they did, the game looks amazing. But there's instances of that game, like if you're playing Warzone and you see somebody way off in the distance, they are literally a 2D sprite. That's how they pulled this type of stuff off. They're not a 3D model running around out there. Just look at their legs, watch the legs, and then tell me that's 1080p 60.
And it's with the other games, like we said, like Order 1886 obviously doesn't run 1080p 60. It doesn't matter what type of game. Lots of games are hindered because these
Battlefront.
systems, Battlefront,
Battlefront's a big one.
A lot of these games are hindered, and they're trying to come up with all these like creative ways how to make these games look good, but they're it's like we wouldn't have these problems if these systems were really strong enough.
This resolution is not indicative of graphics, but the reason that these consoles are struggling to hit 1080p and to make that sharper image is because of the graphics are just outpacing. They're outpacing us. They really are. Something has to change. Something has to change, in my opinion. We can't come out with PlayStation 5 and Xbox 2 and then it just sit there for another. By the time those consoles release, 4K, we're going to be 4K, and these consoles are going to come out and they're going to be like, oh, you could run this game. I don't even think they'll be able to do 4K if we don't do this. I really don't. But that's... Yeah.
So what we're going to try to do is just try to figure out, what is best case and the worst case scenario. So what were you saying, in terms of the best way for us to handle it?
Okay, so basically Phil Spencer was basically saying... Yes.
Basically.
I'm done. You can just go and I'll just come in.
I left it to you. Hurry up, go, man. I'll edit it out.
So what Phil Spencer was basically saying is the hardware is going to have to become upgradable. So maybe the next Xbox, maybe the last Xbox. You know what I mean? That may be it. But not in terms of the last console being made, but it'll be Xbox 2 and then we'll get different versions of it or something along those lines. But I mean, consoles I feel like are always going to be less than a PC in terms of price and specs, but it's keeping up with PC. It's okay that we're a little underpowered compared to PC, but when games on PC are running at 4K 120 frames per second and these games are struggling to hit 1080p 30, you have a problem, and we are stuck in this infinite rut. So, like I said, Xbox 2 would come out, and then Xbox version 2 of Xbox 2 would come out. They'd obviously have a better name, so it would make more sense. Xbox Infinity version 2, Xbox Infinity version 3, so on and so forth. And the thing is how they price this is whether or not it's going to work, because...
So what would you think would be the best way for them to price this type of model, where it's like you get Xbox 2, then 2 years later it's Xbox 2.5.
Right.
And then 2 years later after that, Xbox 3,
it's all the same console, just better
hardware. Better specs and hardware.
And your games, that's the important part. Your games you buy on version 1 are still going to be working all the way up to version...
Xbox 2, you mean?
I said version 1.
Of Xbox 2.
Yes.
The 1. See, now see how things are getting confusing already?
Okay, but if we had a different name, so if it was Xbox...
2. We said 2. Let's stick with 2.
Say it's Xbox Infinity, because just naming it differently, because then...
But just in case, if 2 or 3 years down the road and they announce Xbox Infinity, you heard it here first. Go on.
Okay, Xbox Infinity version 1. So there. See, just by changing the name, it makes a little more sense because you're not adding multiple numbers in this. So, Xbox Infinity version 1 all the way up to 3, 4 is still going to work. Your games will still work. But maybe down the road, once they get to like version 4, maybe version 5, that's 6 years after the release of version 1. So maybe by then, some of the newer games coming out.
But go on. I'm just saying. If we were doing 2-year life cycles in version 5, that's 10 years.
I said version 3 or 4.
Whatever, man.
I said version 3 or 4, man.
You said 4. I got this recorded, man. You said 5. 5 was in there.
It doesn't matter. The point is your console will play these games up into a certain extent. And then at that point, gamers who have stuck around on that platform for God knows how long, they're going to have to move up or get left behind. That's just the way it's going to have to be.
Yeah, I just don't think that would work, man. I don't think that would work. So again, like, what do you think a proper pricing model and method for this to work? What would it be like?
Just launch it, and then when the new one comes out, you could trade it in. Maybe you have to buy years of Xbox Live. I don't know. That's for Microsoft to figure out.
Well, that's why we're here.
Okay.
To try to figure out something.
If I were Microsoft...
Oh man! I want to hear this.
If I were Microsoft, you would buy the first console.
Okay.
It'd be the price of every other console, somewhere from $350 to $500, somewhere in there. So you buy this console, you got version 1, congratulations, you take it home, and when version 2 comes out, you can trade in version 1 and maybe purchase, maybe it'll be like a subscription service like cell phones.
A contract, you mean? There's a difference
Maybe.
between subscription and contract.
Right. You're just going to have to sign your life away and pay monthly, man, and then it'll be way cheaper. It'll be like, okay, you can go home with this right now for $100. You can go home with this for $50. But over the course of 2 years, we're going to get our money.
Okay. Go on.
And it would just keep going.
It just keep going like that.
And going and going and going.
All right. And that's like you think that'll work?
Theoretically, yes, it could work. Look at the topics of today. It's no longer about exclusives. Nobody gives a shit about exclusives. It's no longer, all it is pixels, resolution, graphics. Like this is what the gaming world has come to, and this is just the way it's going to have to be. We're stuck in the past. Our consoles came out and we were already 3 years behind. Now think of how far technology has moved.
Well, the thing is, like I said, one of the reasons why consoles just work is just because it's just the ease of use. You open it up, you pop in the disc, it works.
You're still going to be able to do all of that. These consoles aren't going to be themselves. You're not going to have to download drivers. They're still going to be easy to use. They're still going to be consoles.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. You're going to have to upgrade, or at least you're going to be incentivized to upgrade every 2 years.
What if you don't want to? What if you're one of those guys who wants to sit with your old ass hardware? That's fine. You won't have to upgrade until version 6 comes out, and by then you could buy version 5 and be like good for another 4, 5, 6 years.
Yeah, I don't think it'll work like that, man. I'm just trying to think of like all like the horrible
That's
nightmare
because
scenarios.
You're stuck in 1994.
No, because I'm trying to think of like people who play these games normally, man. People who play these games, like here's the thing. You and me and like Chepo, we're like hardcore gamers, all right? I'm just trying to think of the people, who like maybe aren't hardcore, because obviously the entire like video game demographic isn't composed entirely of hardcore people. Like, perfect example is like the recent Street Fighter game. It got lots of flame, it got lots of anger, it got lots of like crap because it didn't include arcade mode. For you and me, that doesn't matter for shit. We play it online. We want to be competitive. We want to face someone. We want blood spilled, But there's people who buy Street Fighter and they play it to beat the arcade mode with their favorite character, find out what happened in their story for those 2 little cutscenes, and that's it. And then they shelve the game and they're done. There's people who buy Call of Duty not for the multiplayer, not for like, all the map packs or whatever. They just play it for the campaign and they're done. And I'm just trying to think, like, how would they react, if they found out that, like, the system that they got, is expected to be not obsolete, but, like, there's going to be a better one later. I mean, like, imagine people with cell phones right now. They're going to want to upgrade to the newest one. They're going to want to.
That's the point. They do. They do. Everybody is constantly upgrading their cell phones. Our industry is being held back by numerous amounts of things. But this, I mean, I could go into this, a different topic of a different time, but discs, the whole disc thing is holding us back. Everything is holding this industry back. Like, we're stuck in, like, this thing. And anytime somebody tries to change, they get blasted, man.
Well, maybe we're entering that cusp, the point in which, because everything that's big, everything that gets big and becomes like super like enormous is going to explode in itself eventually. So do you think that's what's going to happen? Is it's going to explode? Well,
here's the thing. Here's where it gets tricky. If this works, and let's say it takes off, and Microsoft is making all the moolah, what is Sony going to do? They don't have the type of money to push out a hardware every few years like that. They're not going to be able to keep up. Nintendo, I think, has the highest chance of success of not doing this and staying around because their IPs are just... People buy Nintendo games to play Nintendo games. Whereas Sony, they don't do that like they used to. If VR takes off, this might help them because... the next gen, they'll have a bigger focus on VR. You can be even more immersed in the game with smell or something stupid like that. But whatever it is, if VR takes off, I feel like they'll have more of a chance. But if this takes off, yeah, it could fuck up the industry for both good and bad ways. I don't know how Sony would survive. Like, let's say they come out with PlayStation 5. And Xbox version 2 comes out and it's already more powerful. Or let's say it's not as powerful. For the sake of argument, by the time PlayStation 6 comes out, Xbox is going to be so much more powerful than it that PlayStation 6 is going to release and the version of Microsoft is still going to be way better by then. Because you're going to need a lot of money. Microsoft's going to have to spend a lot of money. If this doesn't work, Sony's going to be fine. Nintendo's going to be fine. But who's not going to be fine? Microsoft. Because they're going to have spent so much money pumping out all this different hardware. Unless they find a way to manufacture it, make it really cheap, which could explain why they're buying AMD. But that's...
or at least trying to buy it.
Right. Because if they get AMD, they can pump out this stuff for dirt cheap. So...
and I just don't see it taking off, man. Like an upgradable thing, especially with like some sort of like contractual service or something.
Why do people do it with cell phones?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, people, when you buy a video game, you buy it because you want to play a video game. When you do it with the cell phone, it's because you just want to talk to people, use the apps. Every now and then. There's some like different versatility, different like demographics there.
That's the same with Xbox. You know how many people buy Xbox and PlayStation 4 or Wii's or Wii U's because it runs Netflix?
Well, yeah, but also because they use it for those games. It's like, hey, I want to play Halo and watch Netflix.
I shit you not, man. I know at least 5 people that I've met in my life who own Xbox 360s and have, like, the base game it came with, and they use it for Netflix. I've met 5 people like that. There's got to be... So if I know 5 people, imagine all the people out there. Like, not everybody gives a shit about games like that, man. Like, a lot of people buy these consoles and buy maybe Madden every year, Call of Duty every year. They buy Battlefield and then just wait for the next one. Like, not everybody's huge into gaming like that. There's a lot of weekend warriors out there. So if it could work. If they sell it right, it could work. If you trade in and you get money for it, this could work. Because you're not going to technically have to get the next best thing until 5 years down the road when yours is going to become obsolete. But by then, you'll be able to get the next best thing. Like, it'll just keep going and going. And there's hardcore gamers out there like myself who, if they come out with a better one, I'm going to get it. As long as it's cheaper, as long as it stays simple, I will get it. I know a lot of people that would get it. PCs will be different. PCs will still be different because PCs is just more complicated. You got to open your shit up. You got to download drivers, all this and that. It's just going to be a console that's constantly getting pushed out, constantly getting better. That's it.
You know, like the recent success of the differences between like PlayStation 4 and like Xbox One. That's like that's what's concerning me, is because like, you know, Xbox try to do all these things, you know, like they're always online, and you know, you have to have the connected on all that, and you know, they tried reversing it, and it's just like they had all this huge negative backlash, and then, you know, like just Sony's a straight, simple, you know, like your games work, you don't have to do all these things, you know, it doesn't come with the camera if you don't want it, and it's just a simple price. And I think that's like just gonna drive everything, you know, because I mean, at the end of the day, that's what made it, you know, explode to what it is right now. You know, Microsoft tried backpedaling, and they tried reverting to everything, but you know, like the damage already
There's
been done.
no way Microsoft.
And if Microsoft comes out and says, "Here's a new system, but a new one's going to come out in 2 years," it's going to be like, well, you know, I know what you mean. Like, you know, for us, we will know that our games will still work on it, you know, and that you know, there's going to be like revisions, and there's going to be ways to make this a little bit more affordable. But will like the average person, again, that was just like, you know what, that's just too complicated, I'm just going to get a PlayStation 4 because it's simple right out of the box, I'm done.
Xbox, you can get it right out of the box, you're done.
You need to hook it up online at least once. Some people didn't like that. You need to hook it up online at least once in order for it to work.
If you don't have online,
and some people don't.
I'm
not saying you shouldn't. You should definitely have internet.
I'm just saying I don't even know what you're doing with your game. Like, I don't even know how you're playing anything. Everything needs a day one update. That means like if you don't have online and you're putting these discs in your console and playing like.
Hey, but this is like what you just said and what I just said. Some people don't play online. Some people don't want to play online.
I'm not saying play like single player game. Every game I've ever bought required a day one internet connection online update. So I can't even. That means you're literally playing broken games if you don't have online. Like these consoles may not be, you know, DRM, the evil DRM, but they are. They are. Every game requires a day one update. And 90% of these games are becoming online only. It's a form of DRM. Like, they're going to get DRM one day. It's going to happen. It's only a matter of time. Like Destiny. What are you going to do in that game without online? Nothing.
Well, then you don't buy it. That's the point.
Nothing. What do you do with Titanfall? Nothing. Battlefront? Nothing.
You could play single player. There's a single player campaign in there.
There's like a survive that'll last you like 15 minutes.
And for again, there's some people who just want those 15 minutes.
I don't know anybody that buys a video game for 15 minutes.
Dude, we used to work at GameStop, okay? Yes. And full disclosure, we used to work at GameStop. And yes, we knew customers who came in, who bought Call of Duty, played the campaign for 5 hours, and then traded it right in.
That's 5 hours. It's a big difference in 15 minutes, man.
But you know what I mean. You know, they're not looking to get like a 2 or 3 year life cycle out of a game. They're literally just there just to get that one single experience, and they're done.
Right.
You know.
It could work if they figure it out. It's up to them to figure out. I mean, I've put out suggestions, but this can't continue. Like, it really can't.
They have, like, I'm not saying, like, there shouldn't be, like, some sort of upgradable thing, like, in one way or another, but it's just, like, I just don't see a way to make it work. But then again, you know, Microsoft obviously has people who are highly educated in these type of things, and they know what they're doing. It's like, I need to know something. Like, I want to know, like, a basic plan that at least sounds right. And what you said with contracts, I mean, yes, it sounds right. It sounds like a cell phone, but I could just see so many evil things going wrong with that. So many evil, like here's, can I do a nightmare scenario?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Because I've been thinking about this whole conversation, this nightmare scenario of mine. So, oh man, let's start off. Since we're comparing this like cell phone like contracts, let's do it that way.
Right.
When you go to the store, because you don't want to do this online. You're gonna want to do this at the store. So you have to go to the store because you want your product, especially like a system. You want it day one. You want it midnight. You want to go pick it up, right? Right?
Right.
Okay. I was about to say, like, dude, nodding does not get recorded on the mic. So, right. You want it day one. So you're going to go, and you have to sign up for this contract, right? You got to sign up for this contract. When you buy a new phone, you still need to put something down. At least that's with me. I usually have to pay something out of my pocket. So if you're going to do it like a cell phone, you're not going to pay for the entire price up front unless you wanted to, but you don't have to. So let's say like a brand new cell phone can range anywhere between like, a couple $100 to like up to $800, depending on what version and what you want. But again, if we're talking like top of the line graphics, if we're talking top of the line specs, because this is the whole point, to keep things up to date, you're talking at least like $600, at least. $600 to $800, depending on like certain things.
They're never going to be PC level because that's the point of the console.
No. But here's
never going to be top of the line, but they're going to be close enough.
No, but here's the thing. It's $600, but you could get it on a contract. You only pay $200 or $100 right now and pay the rest in monthly payments, like you said,
through Xbox Live.
In fact, they'll probably have a subscription thing. It's like, hey, you could pay for Xbox Live and the system all at once every month. It'll be cheaper in the long run. So you can combine the two, right?
Right.
In theory. So, again, you're going to have to go to the store. You have to ask for this. You have to pay $100 or $200.
Get on with it, man. Okay. I want to hear it.
Okay, so you have to pay $200 up front for this system. And that means you have to pay an extra $400, in the back end, with your monthly payments. Right. Let me whip out my trusty calculator and figure out, because if we're doing 2-year life cycles, that's over 24 months. So 400 divided by 24, that's about $17 a month. All right?
Right.
Not including taxes. All right, but here's the thing. With anything, like cell phones, like AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, whatever, you're going to have to go through a background/credit check.
Okay. But that's just an option for somebody. Okay.
No, I know, but again, this would be the most optimal, right? If Microsoft wants to make money and they want to get you with the system home the fastest way possible.
Right.
So again, this is the nightmare situation. I'm not saying like this is the end all be all.
What is the situation? Damn it, the credit check.
Hold on, but this whole scenario. We're gonna go through like this whole scenario.
Okay.
So you have to go through a credit check.
Anticipation is just building.
Well, I'm getting there. You keep interrupting me, man. So you have to do a credit check, right? Then you think about it. How many like people want Xboxes everywhere? Like kids 16 under. They can't sign up for a contract. They don't have credit. Right. They need their parents or whatever.
Right.
And then there's some people who maybe older adults, whatever, maybe they have shitty credit.
Right.
So you're already kind of like blocking some people off because they're not going to afford, a $500 or $600 or even $400 system, and they can't get it with that contract. That's already like the first roadblock.
Okay.
And again, hold on, man. I'm not saying this is the end. This is what's going to happen. This is my nightmare situation. Let me go on. All right, so that's the first roadblock, all right, is that you're going to have to do a credit check because they're not going to trust you with $600 worth of merchandise with only paying $200 out the door. All right, so let's say you take it home, you're paying like $20 a month, after like taxes and everything for your subscription.
I know where he's going, finally.
What happens if one day you don't have the $20? What happens?
It's gonna be the same thing that happens when you don't have $20 for your credit card.
Or no, for your cell phone. What happens if you don't pay for your cell phone? What do they do to it?
They turn it off.
You have to stay connected to Xbox, right? Xbox Live, everything.
And
not now, but I'm saying like in the future, eventually, right?
Maybe. It's hard to say.
So they're gonna, and plus they know you have to pay for this, So and you have Xbox Live attached to your account. So if they turn off your Xbox, they're turning off your account. Right. So that means your games are now more or less a subscription service. So it's like if you don't pay for Xbox Live /hardware, you can't play any of your games on your Xbox.
But what if you just buy it out the door?
Again, not everyone can pay for $600, $500.
You're right, but they wait.
And again, this is just my nightmare scenario. I'm not saying this is the end all be all.
Is it over yet, though?
No, it's not.
Okay, it's still going. Can we... Let's hear it.
I'm just thinking I'm
just waiting for this damn scenario to end so I can...
Because that's what I'm saying. Think about all these little problems. That's what I'm saying. You could say yes, let's do contracts. But dude, you have to think about all little things along the way.
You're right. Look, you're right with the contracts. But here's the thing. Not everyone buys a console day one, period. This is why these consoles continue to sell over the years. People are still buying Xbox 360s. So, you're right. Not everybody's going to be able to do this contract thing. Obviously, most people who are intelligent know not to do this contract thing.
I know, but that's what I'm saying.
They won't pass the credit check if they can't do it anyway. So they're going to do what they always have done. You're going to have to wait for the console to drop in price, and then you get it when you can afford it. The credit check, all that stuff is going to be there for people who can afford it. All that stuff is going to be there for people who have been responsible with their credit.
But see, that's what I'm saying, is that, like, that's the whole point of these consoles, is a lot of these people don't have a lot of money. They don't want to buy a super expensive rig. They don't want to do all, they want to get their systems, you know, they want to play it. But if you're going to do all this, it's going to be expensive as fuck.
Why is it going to be expensive as fuck?
We just talked about it. I literally just laid it down for you. And
that's
on top
only
of that,
if you, yeah, but you're assuming that everybody who's going to buy this console.
Oh no, and again, I'm not saying this is what's going to happen. I'm just saying, look, this is my nightmare scenario. Like, this is the worst of the worst that could happen. And think about it. If you're going to do this, where you're going to have to do like a subscription type thing, I mean, a contract type thing, you know, you know how, like, when you go to Best Buy, they have their own separate area where you get your cell phones and contracts and all that. They're not going to do that just for the Xbox, who is the only one who has like a contractual service. And that's if Sony doesn't follow suit, whatever. You're going to have to go somewhere specialized with video games who want to sell these systems. You're going to have to walk into a GameStop.
No! Oh my God, GameStop! Those evil bastards.
You're going to have to walk into a GameStop and you're going to, you know, credit check through them. Because, you know, they already do credit cards. They're obviously going to want to try. Be like, hey, you want Xbox? Come to GameStop. We'll help you out.
This is a nightmare scenario, yes. But you don't have to get a credit check. You can just pay for it.
No, I know.
You can't afford it,
and that's
you
the thing,
wait for the price drop. You wait for the next iteration to come out, and the iteration after that. And maybe you're one of those people that are buying a 360 right now, so you ain't even going to worry about this until 10 years from now when you're buying it for $50, all right? So
again,
and every iteration comes out is going to make the one before that cheaper.
Calm down,
cheaper.
Man. Again, like this is just like my nightmare scenario, man.
I don't want to go to GameStop, man. You got my heart racing. I don't want to go to GameStop, man.
This is my nightmare. I mean, I hope if they do something like this, it's simple, it's cheap, and like it works. You know, I mean, like it sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to get it to work.
I'm just trying to playing the devil's advocate and just saying like these are some of the problems that you'd face going some of these routes.
I mean,
you know,
we have to go to GameStop, man.
No, I don't want to. You know,
I don't wanna.
Oh man,
this video went on longer than I thought it would, but it was good, I think.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to work. If Microsoft does this, they're literally kind of doing an all or nothing thing. Because I don't think the Xbox will live on after this if it fails. Because if it fails, it's not gonna just fail; it's gonna fail hard.
Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I mean, like we went on, like a lot longer than we needed to, and you know, just like. It's just really hard to think about these type of things because, you know, it's such a big, complicated issue. It's just like, how do you fix it? And, well, maybe that's a question for you guys to answer. If you guys have been listening, you know, let us know. What do you think they could do, you know, to make this, like, simple, affordable, and good for the consumer?
Or do you think consoles should just stay stagnant like they have for the past? You know?
Well, you're not supposed to phrase it like that, man. You're supposed to say, or do you think
that's what they are. They're stagnant. Oh, like, God, you come out with something and it sits there. Like,
please like, share, and subscribe.
That's what they are, man.